Let's divert and talk about your husband, at least for a little bit. You're in Madison. You don't come home. You left your husband, who was somewhat confused, but at least making some sense, at least in terms of not wasting time with her, for him to say goodbye to her. Mm-hmm. When do you discover that he has more than a bump on his head?
I tried to talk to him in the ICU the second day that we were down there, and I tried to explain to him what was going on in the repetition and repetition and repetition of questions that would keep coming, and there was no settling his mind with my answers. It was like he wasn't registering, it wasn't computing.
He knew that she was hurt, but he was having a hard time grasping more than that.
Yeah, correct. You know, I would say, well, she made it through the surgery, everything. We don't know what's going to happen until she wakes up, and you know, I couldn't even really quote what we had talked about because I almost got frustrated that, okay, well, it's not that he didn't care, but he wasn't listening. And then on the third day I called up and I talked to the nursing station and asked if he had had a CT done.
He's still in the hospital.
He's still in the hospital. He's up on the, I don't even know if he was in the ICU or in the hospital.
Is he there because of, is he here there because of head injury or other injuries?
Other injuries. He actually, they thought he had fractured his left arm. That was just bruised badly, but he had fractured his talus bone in his left foot, which was, I think, the part that was pinned in the...
Which is the talus bone? What is it?
Talus bone is just below your, it connects your heel bone to your ankle bone. It's a small little thing, and it's fed by a hair-like vessel, capillary, if you would, and people who fracture that usually end up having to have it fused. Your whole ankle fused, which would not work for his job or for him. And it was unfortunate that the physician who had taken care of him just said, let's cast it and we'll see what it looks like in a month. And my best friend, like I said, Terry, when she had heard that, she says, oh no. She says, you get those x-rays down here, I'll have one of my orthopedic physicians look at it, my favorite one, who does ankles, 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 ankles. And she says, I'm going to have him look at it. And I hadn't heard that we were just going to do, that he was just going to have his foot in this cast. I didn't know that till he came down for her birthday celebration. And so I was like, gosh, isn't that strange to her? And she's like, yeah, I don't know why. But anyway, neither here nor there. But we ended up sending him down to the physician, and he had looked at it and was like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. I called Otto at home, and it was in the evening. It was quite late. It was after 7. And called and talked to him and said, this is a no-brainer. He says, I don't know what his situation was, why the physician didn't operate on you immediately. He said, but you need to come down here, and we're going to take care of it. Ignoring it is just going to cause it to be injury.
How long after the accident is this conversation?
This is about 28 days after the injury.
Has he been to Madison yet?
Yes, he's been there a couple of times on the weekends with relatives who have driven down and taken him.
Foot's in a cast.
Foot's in a cast.
Left or right?
Left. And so he gets down there and they're going to operate. They're going to operate the Friday before we are going to be discharged from the hospital. They need our hospital room desperately. While we were there were 3 other teenage girls that had winter accidents skiing or whatever, and I mean the place was filling up. It was a really icy winter, so we ended up having to move out of our room and go to the Ronald McDonald House for the weekend of his recovery from his ankle surgery, and then I got to drive them both home, which was interesting.
So you actually, they both came home from Madison on the same day then? Mm-hmm. And so you have a severely brain injured child and a husband with recovering from ankle surgery.
Right.
At some point while he's in the hospital for his initial injuries, does anybody figure out that he's had a head injury?
I have no idea if he was diagnosed with a head injury or if he had been looked at. I had asked the therapy staff to go upstairs and talk to him, and whether they had physician's orders or not. Some of them were really close friends of mine. I wanted to go up and talk to him because I said, I want to know if he's okay.
You had said something you'd called the nursing station?
Mm-hmm. I called the nursing station on that third day because I wanted to know what was going on. I said, I can't get him to talk to me on the phone and give me a decent answer to anything. He had seen people in and out of the hospital, doesn't remember ever seeing them. He can't carry on a conversation. And he was under pain meds that they realized were really causing problems with him. I mean, it took him 3 days to come off of them where he wasn't throwing up, and it was morphine, and it was not good for him. And of course, this is like the first time he's been in the
hospital. So are his memory problems related to the morphine, or are they related to head injury?
I think they're related to the head injury, because when he came off the morphine, even it was like that. It was a good 2 weeks before I could carry on a normal conversation with him where we could just talk and have a dialogue where he remembered things.
So you're saying Valentine's Day when you say 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And he's off the morphine in what, a week?
Oh, 2 days, 3 days. They took him off of it once they figured out things were, having a problem with it.
Did he have a CT scan done?
I have no idea.
Has he ever been diagnosed with a head injury?
Yes. I have to cheat. We did have a study done later on down in Marshfield, and he had been diagnosed with a brain injury.
Has he been disabled by that at all?
It's just he has to do things a little differently. He has to constantly write things down.